Console, online. HPG connection, online. Educational module, online. All systems, nominal.
Hello, class, and welcome to On the Origin of Battlemechs Podcast, episode 42, The Victor, Part A. I am your host, Brent Stewart McKee. My co-hosts today are...
I'm Joshua.
And I'm Chandler.
And we have a special guest host today.
Hello, I'm Derek.
Hi, Derek.
Hi, Chandler.
And today we are talking about the Victor, a 80-ton mech that is pretty synonymous with House Davion, which is kind of why you're here, after all.
I apparently have been designated the Davion liaison, so I come to bring you Davion pride.
I felt it was an apt title, you know. You do have that Federated Sun icon as your Discord avatar, so, you know, if the shoe fits.
Oh,
we do need a token Davion.
Indeed. I actually, on my computer is a Federated Suns logo, so...
Well, speaking of your background, why don't you tell us a little about yourself, how you came to the Battletech universe, what drew you in, what you enjoy, and a little bit about yourself, if you know how much you want to share and how much is not classified. So
fair enough. So starting with when I got into Battletech, it would be probably MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries in the early 2000s. I remember playing that with me and my cousin. I think we played like 2 or 3 campaigns through it, which was a lot of fun for us. I didn't really understand the universe. Then in college, I actually just randomly saw Battletech books, picked up and read Blood of Karinsky, and kind of have read off and on some books over the past few years, mainly playing the video games, and then, fell in with the, let's call them degenerates over at WolfNet, and ever since then I've gotten deeper and deeper and deeper into this sprawling universe that is Battletech. So I am actually an Army logistics officer stationed in Korea, so...
Yeah, so us WolfNet people are degens from all over the world then, eh?
Very Desgra.
Mech 4 helped me get through at least one deployment.
Mech 4 was a very good game.
It was a fantastic game. I loved the Mercenaries expansion.
Mm-hmm. So, the Victor, of course, is a 80-ton assault mech, and it was originally built under contract by Hydeco Interplanetary for the Terran Hegemony, conceived as a jump-capable support mech. With the destruction of Hildco factories in Terran Hegemony space at the end of the Ameris Civil War, the majority of the subsidiaries and subcontractors producing the Victor resided within the Federated Sun space, and as such, after the fall of the Star League, the Victor has been adopted by the AFFS. Both the Draconis Combine and the St. Ives Compact have factories that produce the Victor, but both nations have not deployed them nearly as prolifically as House Davion. The Victor's elegant but simple design has allowed it to remain a mainstay on the battlefield since its introduction, and it has the design quirks of being rugged one.
It's interesting that it's now associated with so closely with House Davion, because in the original TRO 3025, it was supposed to be a House Kurita design.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I've never really associated it with the Draconis Combine.
Yeah, I guess from what it says in some of the, I think it's one of the TROs, it talks about how a lot of the records actually fell into House Kurita's hands during the Succession Wars.
Yep.
And yet they never really adopted it.
Which is interesting because the first time I saw it in a book was shooting at Kurita.
And I mean, I guess something can be said for it's called the Victor.
Yeah.
And who's our main POV in the novels from the Facet run.
Yeah. That's why Kurita stopped using it.
I thought it's just because they have to make all of their mechs look like samurai armor and also be inefficient if possible.
I mean, you could put samurai armor on this. It's
I mean, its head almost looks like a helmet already.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, our first model today is the VTR-9A. This guy has a movement profile of 464. It's got 2 flamers in the right torso, 1 SRM-4 in the left torso, a machine gun in the left torso, an AC-20 in the right arm, and 2 medium lasers in the left arm. And then it also has 15 heat sinks. It's got 3 tons of armor, so 15 shots. That'll do you for most engagements, but if you're doing a campaign, you're going to have to resupply before your next one.
AC-20, go boom!
Yeah, finally an AC-20 for you there, Chandler.
An AC-20 on a mech that's not the Thunderbolt 5D.
Yeah.
This is Chandler's favorite assault mech so far.
Yes.
I mean,
And to be honest, there's not a lot bad with the Victor. The only thing it's really got issues with is long range engagements, but that's not its purpose.
nah, its purpose is to jump in and finish off anything else. Usually, like your heavy 100-ton mechs are going to start brawling, and Victor comes in and just backshots things or finishes stuff off. It's kind of a heavy cavalry mech, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, it is a support mech, and the support mech is the second punch of the 1-2.
I'd say if it has a weakness, it's its armor.
Yeah, especially the 9A only has 136 points, which is pretty paltry for even an introduction level assault mech. It definitely fits in better with like a medium heavy lance rather than being like a heavy assault.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the Victor can sometimes feel like a heavy that's punching up, But I think it's mostly the jump jets. I don't really associate jump jets with assaults. I associate them with heavies, but maybe that's just my playstyle.
No, I think you're right. 5 points of armor in Alpha Strike is kind of middle of the road for assault mechs, and that's what the Victor 9A is sporting. And then those jump jets are definitely not something you usually see on assault mechs because they weigh so much. I mean, they're bad enough on a heavy mech where they're 1 ton each.
Yeah, it just gets a little cost prohibitive sometimes.
Yeah, definitely a prime city fighter, though, if there ever was one. Oh no, there's a building in the way. I guess I'll just jump over it.
Yeah, this is definitely the urban setting is where this will shine, definitely. This doesn't want to be fighting in a field. This wants to be fighting in a mountain range or in an urban setting or something like that.
Something
it also
with
wants
lots
one
of
more jump
mountains
jet
in the way. Well, hold on there. Improved jump jets haven't been invented yet, so.
I know.
I mean, even in a city fighting environment, this would be a fairly effective mech.
I mean, 4 will clear basically every building.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can jump in and you're jumping in behind somebody and laying an AC-20 into their back, and, you're giving them a fairly bloody nose, so...
Yeah, most mechs can't take an AC-20 to the back armor.
Nope.
But 5 is where you cross over that magical line and make your numbers even out.
True, but this is one of those instances, again, where it's not a use for getting a better movement mod, it's a utility use, where it's just designed to get this mech into a prime firing position, whether or not it makes it harder to hit.
Yeah. Well, the 9A was first seen in 2508, and it's got a battle value of 1236, and a point value of 31.
And weighs in at 80 tons.
And then we come to the 9A1, also seen in 2508. This guy keeps the same movement profile. It's still got the 15 heat sinks, but it has a weapons loadout of a SRM-4 in the left torso, the AC-20 in the right arm, the 2 medium lasers in the left arm, and then it's got a machine gun in both the right and the left leg.
It's one thing I have to say I like about these first 2 Victors we've seen. They actually have some anti-infantry armament. They've got some missiles. They got some lasers. They have a good mix of weapons for different engagement profiles.
And I mean, in an urban setting, the machine guns and the flamers from the previous model are going to be really effective. And also, this is the era when mechs are still, they haven't completely controlled the battlefield. There's still combined arms. There's still lots of infantry and tanks around.
Yeah, though we are seeing less of that in the Inner Sphere and the SLDF, or not the SLDF just yet, but the Terran Hegemony.
Yeah, they're definitely moving in that direction.
Especially as, over the next 4 decades.
Oh yes, they're moving in that direction and there's no slowing them down, but you can still see the vestigial bits of the weapons platforms designed to deal with the leftovers,
Yeah.
I don't think there's much to say about this guy. This A1 is just a little bit of a refinement over the standard A.
Yeah, get a little bit more armor, get rid of the flamers.
Yeah. So this guy's got a battle value of 1302 and a point value of 33. And then we come to the Victor 9B in 2510. And this guy has the same movement profile of 464. He's got 15 double heat sinks, just like his predecessors, but now his weapons loadout is a SRM-4 in the left torso, an AC-20 in the right arm, and 2 medium lasers in the left arm. And he definitely adds some armor on this guy. That's what we're taking the weapons out for. More armor, which is not terrible, especially if, as we've just mentioned, everything's moving to mechs. So This is much more capable of mech-on-mech combat, whereas the previous models I think I'd want to take if I'm dealing with combined arms.
I mean, it loses out its infantry killing capabilities to gain 1.5 tons of armor. This is the OG Victor, the one you see in all the TROs.
I mean, overall, looking at it, I actually don't mind it losing the anti-infantry capability, because if you look at the battlefield that it would be fighting on in its time frame, it's mainly mechs at this point, or largely mechs. And I mean, as we said before with the 9A, the armor is its biggest downfall. So adding at least 1.5 tons worth of armor is definitely nice, especially if I was driving one of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose if we're looking at the codification of the modern battlefield, you're gonna have smaller, more disposable or numerous mechs who, like the Locust 1V with the 2 machine guns, to deal with enemy infantry.
Or a fire starter.
Or a fire starter. And this guy's main role is kind of the anti-tank field gun duties with that AC-20 to focus solely on the enemy mechs.
Yeah, unfortunately this guy still keeps the problem of not having any long range, still has to be within 9 hexes to hit anything, and so wanting to get close, gotta use that cover, basically. So this guy was seen in 2510, and he's got a battle value of 1378 and a point value of 36. And then we come to the 9B Shojin, which is apparently out in 2725 and has a battle value of 1531 and a point value of 41, but I could not find a record sheet for this guy, but he's listed on Master Unit List.
Yeah, Master Unit List also says there's no record sheet, so...
Not sure where they got the points from.
I have one on Mega Mech, and it states that it's from Star League is the source, whether that's a book or a TRO or some sort of...
I think there's like a field manual Star League.
Yeah, so that's probably where this hails from, but it is more or less turns the Victor on its head. It keeps the movement of 464. It drops you down to 10 heat sinks, but makes them double, so you sink 20 instead of 15. Ups the armor all the way up to full armor capacity, so you got 247 points of armor. And for weapons, you have 3 medium pulse lasers, all in the left arm. You have an AC-10 in the right arm, and then in your left torso, you've got an SRM-4. However, I'm looking at the sheet and it doesn't have ammo for the SRM-4, so don't quite know what's going on there. My guess is whoever made it wasn't paying attention.
Well, it's...
But definitely different.
Or Sojin's so good it only needs 1 shot.
2725 is getting close to the Amaris coup, so it could be actually a field refit during the coup.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a goof on the person who made the Mega Mech file. It's got a free ton, so it would have a ton of SRM-4 ammo, theoretically.
Okay.
Assuming nothing else is wrong.
So that's what we got for that mysterious model. Next we come to the 9S, first seen in 2998. This guy has the same movement profile, 464. He's got a SRM-6 in the left torso, the AC-20 in the right arm, and the 2 medium lasers in the left arm. And also has 15 double heat sinks and 3 tons of AC ammo, so pretty boilerplate, pretty good. But, nothing shiny that makes you want to jump out and scream, right?
Yeah, it's 15 single heat sinks.
I do like that we're back to S for Steiner.
I do like that they bumped up the SRM-4 to a 6.
Yeah, that is not too bad.
I mean, especially for the role that, I believe it fills on the battlefield. It definitely does help it. It gives it a little bit more punch. So
yeah, lets it fire the AC-20 and then use the SRM to find all those nice juicy innards.
Yeah, the SRM and 2 medium lasers. And be like, oh, it's a terrible thing that just happened to your engine. Be a shame if you critted.
So this guy's got a battle value of 1360 and a point value of 36. Then we come to the Victor 9B Lee in 3049, and this is the personal ride of Lee Dokto, and this is sourced from the Turning Point's Death to Mercenaries campaign, so you're not really going to see it unless you're doing that campaign, but it's a pretty iconic campaign, so you very well might see it or you might play it. This guy's got a movement profile of 464, but it breaks with tradition and has a completely different weapons systems. First off, it's got 19 single heat sinks, and then it has an LRM-15 in the left torso, and then 10 medium lasers in the right arm.
So he wanted a long-range fire support mech.
With enough lasers to boil himself and his opponent alive.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna die, you might as well cook yourself alive while you cook someone else alive.
This is a weird one. I don't know what to do with it.
It reminds me of the Griffin Sparky, just bigger and weirder.
Yeah, but I mean, the Sparky at least made a little bit more sense because, it already had that somewhat similar laser-heavy loadout. It wasn't a complete left field like this guy is, I feel.
Yeah, this definitely screams field refit.
Yeah.
His autocannon got shot off, so he just stuck as many medium lasers in there as he could.
Yeah, just they didn't have any replacements.
I mean, it is a method.
So this guy's got a battle value of 1625 and a point value of 38. And then we come to the Victor 9D in 3049. And this guy has the same battle value and point value as the 9K and the same production year because it is the same mech. Both of these guys are exactly the same, but due to the planet of Quinton being lost to the Draconis Combine in 39, the 9D was effectively scrapped and replaced with the 9K, but, built for the Draconis Combine. To combat this, House Davion sourced parts from the planet of Styx in the St. Ives Compact. And if you're wanting to play with this guy, you can just use the 9K record sheet because it is identical.
Yeah, they are the same mech.
I was going to say, I do like the change out on this is it's, for the most part, it stays the same as, the standard Victors we've been talking about already. It stays fairly similar to the B, but instead you change out your AC-20 for a Gauss rifle, so now you get that range we've been talking about and it lacking. Mm-hmm. On top of that, you change out your medium lasers to medium pulses, and then you drop the 6 down to a 4. I think the drop in the SRM-6 for the 2 medium pulses is definitely definitely improvement, and it's built on an endo steel chassis.
Mm-hmm. And it also gets a little bit more armor.
And case for all those pesky ammo explosions.
Yeah.
Or in this case, Gauss explosion.
Yep.
Yeah, both.
Yep. I mean, I do love me a Gauss rifle, so...
A Gauss.
Yeah, so this... Look, both are correct. Gauss and Gauss. Gauss, thank you.
Gauss, goose.
I have heard...
Goose.
It's like aluminum and aluminium. It's a dialect thing.
A goose rifle.
So, the SRM-4, of course, is in the left torso, the Gauss rifle is in the right arm, and the 2 medium pulse lasers are in the left arm. This guy is going to be running pretty cool with those 15 heat sinks, and yeah, the long range of 22 on that Gauss rifle is really nice to see, because now you don't have to be hiding behind stuff all the time.
So I do think that this is a weakness of the 9K/D, is having those medium pulse lasers in the arm means you can't shoot them and then punch with it at the same time, which means if you're in brawling range, you have to punch with your Gauss rifle arm, and doesn't actually do anything rules-wise, but it just seems like a really bad idea in universe to be punching things with your main weapon.
Just think of it as instead of punching, he's throwing an elbow.
I mean, the more I look at this one, the more I think that I really wouldn't want to be in brawling range necessarily, especially with that Gauss rifle and the mobility I have. I think I would try and be, more of a sniper with just the ability to, if light scout mechs show up, I can make their day very miserable.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would rather have ER medium lasers than those 2 medium pulse.
Just a little more range?
Yeah, sync up with the Gauss rifle a little bit better. Still not going to be...
Or at least the SRM-4.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the other thing to look at on this guy is new art. So this guy's got different art. We haven't really talked about the art. So this guy's much more of an action pose, almost like he's jumping, especially when you look at his feet. Looks pretty spiffy in my opinion. Got some nice checkering on the paint job there. But when you compare it to the previous art, which of course is the classic 80s black line design, this guy, he doesn't look bad, but he looks very slow and stocky, and he has the same problem that the Commando has, which is he's looking to the left, which makes his head look a little weird.
Yeah, I think that's why they were originally going for it was going to be a Kurita mech, because as somebody previously mentioned in the original art, it very much looks like a flared samurai helmet with the way he's looking to the left.
Yeah, you just need to put a little something on the front and you're basically there.
You can even see his little jump pack. He little jump pack sticking over his shoulder.
Yeah, the little circle there.
The turbine engine.
Yeah.
I have to say, I don't think this new art in the 3050 upgrade book is really any less chunky or slow looking. The main difference is he has a lot of fire coming out of his butt.
Fair.
And he also has a Federated Suns logo on it, because, he's just giving out freedom.
He's
One
got
Gauss
2
rifle shot at a
Federated Sun
time.
logos.
Oh, that's right, he does.
One on his left arm.
Closer. Some
Twice
real
the
Davion
freedom.
pride right there.
I love how the one on the chest is basically just a shoot here sign.
Well, that's why Batman puts a bat on his chest, right?
Yeah, either that or it's, that's the last thing you see.
I thought it was the barrel of the AC-20 or Gauss rifle.
It depends on where you're looking. If you're looking at the middle of the mech, you just see this massive Federated Suns logo. So, you are getting some grade A government, issue ammunition sent at you. Freedom.
For anyone reading along with us, you've probably noticed that this Victor 9K art is the #1 art.
So this guy's got a battle value of 1717 and a point value of 40.
Those are the same values for the 9D because, again, it's the exact same mech, just different factories.
And then we come to pilot profiles. And our first pilot for today is Lieutenant Ramsey Donnell. And Donnell was a member of the 12th Vegan Rangers Attack Lance. He served on the planet of Tripole, where he took down a Kharitan Warhammer in close range. After that deployment, his mech experienced a firing issue with his missile rack, which is not a great thing, but otherwise his mech records are shown to be in good working order, or at least fair working order.
After that, we have mech warrior Tammy Holston. She's a veteran of Merrick's regular Hussars. Apparently she's not a special Hussar. She's also part of the... I bet that's supposed to be Regulan Hussars, and it's just a typo in the book.
Wouldn't be the first time.
No, Tammy also is part of the Regulan Hussars Attack Lance. She actually leads it, and she's in this book for engaging 2 Liao recon lances on the planet Right. I almost feel sorry for those recon lances, except that they're House Liao. She did splash 3 of them in that engagement, although for some reason, it's not specified, she was later demoted, although not moved out of the lance she used to command.
That seems like a bad protocol in a military organization.
Yeah. I mean, she apparently is taking it in fairly good grace because she's working to restore her career and get back on track for promotion and to take over the lance again, so...
I mean, stranger things in the Battletech universe have happened.
So next up, we have Debbie Malger, and she piloted a Victor 9A, which at the time frame of her being alive, which we don't have when she was born, but she died about 3039, was a rare mech, seeing as it was developed before the Amara Civil War. Amaris.
Good job, Amaris.
She was affiliated... Yeah. Amaris. She was part of a pirate group called Santander's Killers, who was based off of the periphery world of Santander 5, who would have thought, and they were notable because they would raid House Kurita very often. Unfortunately, she did not live to see the biggest event that they would participate in, but Santander's Killers would be one of the first Intersphere forces to engage the clans during the clan invasion in September of 3049. So it is unknown whether she would have really contributed a ton more to that engagement, as this is Secession Wars era tech going up against, cutting edge clan tech, but I doubt they would have been too sad about having an additional victor on the field against the clans.
I mean, it's about the only thing in a recon lance that can take on the clanners.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't see that ending well no matter what, so...
Yeah.
No. Yeah, essentially... The pirates pulled pirate shenanigans and blew up a bunch of crap to piss off the Jaguars and then escaped, namely dropships, because, pirates.
Yep. And, taking out dropships is a good way to cripple your opponent because they're not only important for getting to and from the jump point, but they're important for getting around the planet, too.
Yeah, it is speculated.
After you.
Yeah, it is speculated that the reason Clan Smoke Jaguar was so vicious with the Inner Sphere was because of their original contact with the Santander's Killers. and their very unclan-like behavior.
I mean, the Smoke Jaguars were always going to be Smoke Jaguars, let's be real.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure some pirates were going to go, what the hell is a batch-all? And who are these people? Yeah. And let's get out of here as fast as possible.
And pirates weren't the only ones going, what the heck is a batch-all? That was pretty much everybody.
It's true.
As shown in the Battletech cartoon.
A fantastic piece of propaganda.
You dare refuse my batch-all?
I only bid the planet.
So, for our data dive today, we are going to look back at the Federated Sun. Once again, it's been a while since we looked at them, so let's give them some love, especially since we have one of their own here, right?
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. If we have to.
Oh, come on.
Say no, they're actually my now third favorite faction.
What's your second?
So
if push came to shove.
If push came to shove.
I'm sorry, you don't love freedom.
I love freedom so much. I'm a Taurian.
That's not freedom. That's a police state. You know it.
What's number 2?
Lyran Commonwealth.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
You mean the people that ruined the Federated Commonwealth?
The people who understand that when trade doesn't flow across borders, armies do?
Yeah, well, they do understand that quite well.
Yeah.
Just if their generals understood war.
No, they understand a banquet table quite well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
Now, circling back to the Federated Suns. When last we looked at the fledgling Federated Sun, they were not even the Crucis Pact yet. Last we spoke of the Davion family solidifying power in the shadows and low-ranking state positions. I told you of Jerome Davion's marriage to the Industrial Coalition and Expansion, and today I will continue with the rise of the Davion family. Jerome had 4 sons who would all play a part in the formation of House Davion: Lucien, Joseph, Louis, and Charles. Sadly, he would not live to see the actions of the men he raised, as on return to the planet New Avalon, Jerome would die in a misjump in 2306. His children would become movers and shakers starting in 2307 with the appointment of Lucien to Deputy Prime Minister under Martin Duval. This started a political crisis, as many in the entrenched power system feared the Duval dynasty disappearing and would diminish their grip on power. This, of course, is silly, as when you look at a family tree, you can see that Lucien was Martin's closest living relative by a large margin, and the families had consolidated their power over previous generations. Using marriage as a tool of the state, Lucien deftly diffused the situation by marrying into the largest opposing faction to him, by marrying Marie Fabler, the heir to the anti-coalition political faction. When the next generation of Davion was born, they were named after the maternal side, a symbolic olive branch to unify all of New Avalon. Duval passed away in a hunting accident, and Lucien was sworn in as prime minister within the week. There are many historical precedents for a, air quotes here, hunting accident being the term used for an assassination, but in this case, it was not the case, as Lucien was an idealistic man of honor, and even his most steeled rivals did not consider it a possibility that he took any untoward action. Lucien was by all means a Davion, talented and skilled at political maneuvering, but was very much the black sheep of his family, and by that he mean he was deeply idealistic, soft-spoken but deeply moving, and had a flair for negotiations and compromise. He held the belief that for New Avalon to prosper, it must reach out to its sibling planets in the stars that had been abandoned by Terra. He started his tenure as Prime Minister by completing and building upon the programs that the Duvals started, and continued the progress of industrializing New Avalon. Many of the entrenched industrial class fought these actions as it would erode their local manufacturing monopoly, but could not mount any real resistance, as increased economic prosperity and increased quality of life ultimately made everybody, if not happy, complacent. This also eased the tensions and worries of the rise of neo-feudalism by the general population. They were replaced with economic concerns, but of course, as we have seen over and over in history, when isolated economies collide, inflation and market fluctuations are an issue that the state must be proactive in dealing with.
Or they could let the businessmen and people work it out for themselves.
And how'd that work out for the Lyran Commonwealth?
It would have worked out better if there were any actual economists who was part of the writing staff.
Yeah.
So, in 2314, with 6 years of experience as Prime Minister, Lucian faced a new challenge, a challenge that all heads of state outside a 30 light-year distance of Terra had to contend with in some way: James McKenna and the Terran hegemony's expansion. Lucian quickly understood the situation and realized that Terra could easily pick off lone planets. So for 2 years he planned and organized, and in 2316 he set out on a breakneck diplomatic tour. He visited planets that would soon form the Crucis Pact, with a consistent message: one cannot stand against Terra, but many could. He stressed that an early show of force would deter the need of any military buildup, and that the Terran hegemony was still suffering from underdeveloped infrastructure and weak supply lines, a classic Achilles heel of fledgling empires. This message was well received on all but 2 of his stops. An important note of the man Lucian was is that during his tour he approached each planet with a unique strategy. Often he spoke as the head of state, sometimes as a titan of industry, and others simply as a concerned citizen for Homo Stellaris, the wayward children of Terra. By 2317 he had convinced 23 planets to join the Crucis Pact, and the conference took 3 months, and by the end the pact was signed, a mutual defense and trade union known as the Federated Suns. The treaty ensured complete local autonomy for each planet and at the same time championed lofty and idealistic goals. Lucian would be unanimously elected the president of the Federated Suns, and once the ink had dried and all was said and done, the pact worked, but more by force of will of Lucian Davion than by any systemic resilience. For contemporary historians called it, and I quote, "the only document to make the League of Nations Charter look practical." The League of Nations, of course, being the failed precursor of the United Nations. For this reason, I feel it is not unreasonable to place Lucian Davion in the same circle as Otto von Bismarck, an exemplary individual who held together what no other person could. The Crucis Pact inspired many other similar organizations, but few grew as smoothly or as quickly as the Federated Suns, and this is wholly attributed to Lucian, whose reputation for impartiality and fairness was more than earned. And in the 15 years following the signing of the pact, he took a loose mutual defense agreement and built roads to make them a tight-knit alliance of worlds, adding new planets at every opportunity. Again, as we see in history, the best rulers are the road builders, metaphorically speaking, of course. The Federated Suns were by no means a happy family. The smooth operation required a strong and even hand to calm tensions. But by the dedicated work of Lucian, the name Davion now had a social magic to it. Lucian's work ended in 2332, not because the work was done, but because Lucian had no more time on this mortal plane. He passed away 3 months after retiring. He had worked tirelessly and effectively, and the fruits of his labor were easy to see, and the office of the president had become synonymous with the Davion name. Charles Davion was elected as president of the Federated Suns and then elected as Prime Minister of New Avalon, as the aristocracy of New Avalon once again feared the creation of a dynasty. But we can all see with hindsight that they had missed the window for that, and obstinately insisted on elevating a rival out of spite until eventually relenting, but only after less than veiled threats that the center of the Federated Sun could move from New Avalon to another planet, delivered in a speech by Louis Davion. What can be said about Lucian Davion? Much and more. He is in a very real way the father of the Federated Suns, but also was a step in the creation of the Davion dynasty. He was a great man who rose above the pitfalls of his family and made his mark on history. Sadly, his idealism would be his and his alone, for his family was happy to ride his coattails and step into the power vacuum he left behind, and wield the power of the office with less dexterity than Lucian displayed. We will leave today with the passing of the Prime Minister and President from brother to brother, and the cementment of the Davion dynasty and the Federation welcoming new sons.
Yeah, his successor wasn't very good.
I mean, he did whip up the military into an actual military.
Yeah, that was Lucian's biggest failure, was he really wasn't a military leader. He was a great politician, great idealist, but when it came time to actually, fight against the Chesterton Trade Union, Trade Federation, he kinda, it didn't go well.
He tried his best.
He tried.
Gave
but
it
it would be others down the line that would I mean, he did give it a good. He gave it a good old Davion try, and we can appreciate that. But
that is true.
It would take others further down the line to really get the Davion or get the Federated Suns military in shape.
It's always interesting to look at the Federated Suns in an era where they're not the military powerhouse, because that's how we're most familiar with them.
You mean the Dark Age and the Jihad?
No, they were still one of the powerhouses during the Jihad. Dark Ages, yes, they bought in a little too heavily on peace for having the Capellans as neighbors. This time period, immediately after the Amaris coup, they were actually pretty weak militarily at that point as well.
Yeah, their military was largely a paper tiger. It looked great on paper, but then when the First Succession War actually kicked off, they didn't
got
do
stretched
well.
real thin.
Yeah, well, they were spread real thin, and then on top of that, the military command structure and the units proved to be less than effective because they weren't very well trained or whatever, or they're more parade units than anything else. But then, Kurita goes and does Kentari's things, and the Federated Suns gets its rally cry. Yeah. The United States had Remember Pearl Harbor, the Federated Suns / the Draconis March gained Remember Kentari's. And, a lot of hatred.
Only a little bit.
I mean, when you want to burn Luthien to cinders, just a little deep. Just a little deep.
Only Victor could have gone to Luthien.
And he did.
To paraphrase
4 times.
Yeah. Our sources for today are Sarna, Battletech Battlemech Manual, Master Unit List, Succession Wars TRO and RS, 3050 Unabridged TRO and RS, Record Sheets 3085 ONN, Turning Point Death to Mercenaries, Experimentals Pirate, and Sourcebook House Davion.
I used Technical Readout 3025 for MechWarrior Tammy Holston.
We are supported by our Patreons at patreon.com/on the Origin of Battlemechs. Our social media on Twitter is at Origin of Mechs. We also have a dedicated channel on the Everything Battletech Discord. Feel free to stop by and say hi. If you have any questions, requests for topics, or wish to contact us, our email is ontheoriginofbattlemechs@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, I encourage you to let your friends know about us and to leave a review. Special thanks to my friend Laura for the intro and outro. Class dismissed. Everybody have a great day.
Peace out, Mech Warriors.
Stay safe out there.
Have a good one.
No, don't have a good one. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to his Davion lies.
Module complete. System standby. Would you like to load the next module?
My co-hosts today are...
I'm Joshua.
And I'm Chandler.
And I'm Derek.
No.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, it's okay.
Bad Derek. I will get the wooden spoon.
There's always one.